Hello, my name is Jessica Fisher. I am the work-at-home mom behind TheCraftEGal diapers, and today I'm going to give you an overview of the 1034D brother serger, which is one of the more popular sergers out on the market for a low price, and the different things you need to know when you use it in order to use it to its full potential. So first, as you're looking, you can't quite see it in the view, but you'll see that the bar here is pulled all the way up. This is where you want to start. You want to start with the thread. When I serge, I tend to make children's clothing and cloth diapers. As such, in my two right threads, I like to use woolly nylon thread. I use commercial size cones, large cones, but you can get this at your local Joann's or other craft store, and you just want to look for woolly nylon, stretch nylon, words like that. And I use these in these two right threads, which will go to the bottom of the machine. In my left threads, over here, I use just standard polyester serger cones. My favorite are TheCraftEGal, which is made by Gutermann. It's a really top quality thread, and I just find that my machine really likes it. So as you're looking at your machine, first you put your thread in. As you're looking, I'm not going to show you how to thread it today, but as you're looking, we're going to go through the thread path. First thread path is up at the top for the thread to go through. Then you have little notches here, and that's just to hold the thread in place. These dials here are the most important. My serger's been well loved, so its tension is a little out of whack, so I have to use it on different settings than you normally would. But when you get your serger straight out of the box, you should be able to use it straight out of the box on 4, 4, 4, 4. Now, when it comes in the box, you'll notice that it comes with 4 different colors of thread. As you look at these little pictures under each dial, you will see that the thread dial color, the tension disc color, matches the thread on the picture on the front of the machine. So as you're serging, if you notice that a thread is a little too loose or a little too tight, look at these little diagrams under each knob, and if you see that, say this one is looser than it should be, you can do it on a higher number. Higher numbers equal tighter, lower numbers equal looser. Okay? To the right of our machine here, you'll see this handle. This lifts the pressure foot up and down. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. Your machine will come with a tray to catch any thread scraps that come off while you are cutting. And to open your machine, just slide to the right and down. This now exposes the inside of our machine. Now, since it just did it, I'll show you anyway. This comes off to allow you to access inside of here, which will allow you to do things like cuffs and waistbands because your fabric will be able to go back and behind. Just makes it a little easier on smaller items. Inside here, these thread paths here, these are your loopers. You have your upper looper, it's hard to show, your upper looper, which is this guy right here, and you have your lower looper, and there's a knob right here that I'm going to turn. This is what moves the loopers. You move it towards you and move it for your lower looper. These are your bottom threads. These are the threads that are actually going to go over the edge of your serging. So it's very important that these tension discs to these threads have the proper tension. Your needles, you have 2 twin needles in the 1034D, and you also want to make sure that their thread tension is proper. Another feature of the 1034D is that you can do rolled hems on your serger. I'm not going to cover how to do that in specific. You'll want to look it up in your manual, but in order to do it, there's a little lever that you push, and this is the stitch finger that comes off of the machine, and there's a handy storage spot right there on the machine. For regular serging, you're going to want to push that lever and put it back in. I only take that out when I'm doing a rolled hem. So that is the front of the machine, and now we're going to move on to... We are now looking at the side of our 1034D brother serger. You will notice there are 4 different options on the side of your serger, and it's very important to become familiar with these options. The first option I'm going to show you is the blade. Typically, when in use, it's to the back of the machine, and that will have the blade on. Some finishes, like rolled hems, or if you're just wanting to go over a bad spot in a serging, you will actually need to turn the serger blade off. Sorry, reverse that. It was off. I'm turning it back on. I was doing a rolled hem. Okay? This option right here, this is your stitch width. I, once again, really only play with this when I'm doing a rolled hem. Your first option is R. That's for a rolled hem. That's just for finishing a raw edge. Most of them are supposed to come on 5. You'll notice that the 5 is in a black box. That's where your serger should be set from the manufacturer, and that's where you're going to want to do most stitching. Now, if you happen to like a wider finish, or you just happen to have an item that you need a wider finish, you can switch it up to 7, and that's just going to push the blade a little farther away from the needle so that you have a wider cut. I'm going to leave it on 5. Our next style that we're going to look at, this one right here, this is your stitch length. Once again, there's an R, that is for a rolled hem that will just do a general finish. There's a 2, and then there's a 3. Once again, you'll notice that that 3 is in a black box. That means for most things that you serge, you want it on that 3. If you happen to have a personal preference, some people like it a lot closer together, some people like it a little farther. I do a lot of visible seams with my cloth diapers where I just actually serge around the outside of them. I go with 3. 3 is a nice, even number. It just, to me, is the best distance. Any closer together, and I find that it stretches the fabric out. Now, for the fancy one that most people don't understand how to use, this very back lever. You'll notice it has a 0.7, a 1.0, a couple more dashes, and a 2.0. This is your differential feed. This is probably my favorite part of a serger. I sew with a lot of knit fabrics. Occasionally I sew with wovens. What these numbers mean is basically a differential feed is 2 sets of walking feet. You have a set to the back of the machine, and if you look under your pressure foot, you will see them. You'll have a set to your back of your machine. The set on the back of underneath the foot, the back set of feed dogs, is a set rate. You can't change that. That set just goes. The set on the front is what this dial controls. The set on the front you can either set to go slower for woven fabrics, because woven fabrics don't stretch. Knit fabrics, though, as they're pulled into the machine, they tend to stretch out. By setting it up to a higher number, you're actually making those feed dogs on the front of the machine move faster. Feed dogs are moving faster, pulling the fabric in faster. You're preventing it from stretching out. I hope that makes sense. So, for woven fabrics, you want it on 1.0. I actually haven't found a fabric that I needed to use 0.7 on, but I always suggest doing a test piece of fabric if you're not sure for wovens and such, and you may find that there's something that serges more cleanly on 0.7. But for woven fabrics, I do 1.0. For knit fabrics, standard knit fabrics, cotton lycras, cotton ribbing, cotton interlock, I do 2.0. You will have the occasional knit fabric like jerseys that aren't quite as stretchy and are thinner. For those jersey fabrics that aren't as stretchy and are thinner but are still stretchy, you want to play and you want to do test pieces, but I tend to kind of go in the middle. Because you do need to move it a little faster than a woven fabric, but you don't need to move it as fast as a standard knit. So that is a general overview of the different functions of the 1034D, how to change settings, and when you would need to change settings, and I hope that this helps.